The adventure of Ezra, Kanan, and the crew of the Ghost continues with Season 3 of Star Wars Rebels, kicking things off with a 2-part, 1-hour-long season premiere called Steps into Shadow, where they introduced a whole lot of new stuff and continued the quest of Ezra Bridger as he continues to help fight the Empire. Now, when we last left Ezra, he had just gotten his hands on the Sith Holocron, and it's been in his possession since. And the first thing they try to tell us with this episode is that Ezra has become a lot stronger with the Force, but the problem is he's tapping into the dark side because the Sith Holocron is actually speaking to him, telling him what to do, seducing him to using and tapping into the dark side of the Force. Now, when we last left off Kanan, it turns out that he was indeed blinded. And I had no idea how severe this blindness actually was, but I guess it was pretty severe. And early in the episode, they established that Kanan finds out that Ezra has this Sith Holocron and that he's been using it. And they get into a little bit of a debate because Kanan knows how dangerous it is to use the dark side of the Force. And Ezra is over here thinking, oh no, don't worry about it. I'll take care of it. In other words, Ezra's kind of, it's almost like he's aware that the dark side could be a dangerous thing. But I think Ezra is very naive as far as just how dangerous it could be. And I'm really, every time I see Ezra now in Season 3, it just reminds me of Anakin Skywalker from episodes 2 to 3. In episode 2, Skywalker was kind of immature, kind of a punk. And then in episode 3, he was much more grown up, but he still was naive to the dark side of the Force. And of course, he had a new haircut, and Ezra's the same way. New haircut, tapping into the dark side, liking the power the dark side gives him, but it's still quite a bad idea because, like Yoda said, forever will it dominate your destiny. So Kanan ends up taking that Sith Holocron away from Ezra, and there's a scene where he's outside, like meditating, and he's surrounded by these dangerous spiders, and he hears a voice telling him that he can help him. And during this scene, we see a shot of the mysterious Convor. And for those who don't know about the mystery of the Convor, it's this owl-like creature that a lot of fans have been speculating has some kind of deep connection with the Force. We saw the Convor at the very end of Season 2 of Rebels after the fight with Ahsoka and Darth Vader, and some fans have speculated that this Convor could possibly be some kind of an avatar or some kind of familiar for certain Force users. And some have even thought that it's possible that Ahsoka did not die at the end of Season 2 and that she actually transferred her spirit into the Convor. This is all fan speculation. My buddy Dash Star did a really good video on it. I'm going to link down below where he talks about the secret behind the Convor's connection to Ahsoka. But it's interesting that in the very first episode, we see the Convor there in front, like right there in front of Kanan. There's something deeper going on with this, and Dave Filoni himself has talked about this, so it shouldn't be a surprise that this is going to go somewhere. So this would, of course, lead to Kanan actually meeting this mysterious Bendu, which is a gigantic creature. And for those who don't know where the name came from, in the original script for the original Star Wars, the Jedi were called the Jedi Bendu. That was the name of their cult, I guess you can call it. They're recycling that for this series. And pretty much they have a very interesting conversation where the Bendu talks about the Jedi and the Sith, and he kind of chastises them and kind of tells them that, the Jedi tap into the light side, the Sith tap into the dark side, but the Bendu is right in the middle. Which, again, I've noticing that a lot of the recent Star Wars material has been focusing a lot on the balance of the Force and how, light and dark kind of could or maybe are supposed to coexist. Especially when you look at Kylo Ren and what the Star Wars Force Awakens novel states, that Supreme Leader Snoke recruited Kylo Ren because Kylo Ren is the perfect balance between light and dark. So is this story all leading to a balance, a character, something that's going to end up having more meaning to this whole light side, dark side thing? Who knows? I guess we'll find out. But pretty much the Bendu tries to help Kanan get his vision back using the Force. They show Kanan's eyes, and it's pretty uncomfortable. Now, elsewhere, we finally, after many, many years, see the canon premiere of Grand Admiral Thrawn himself, who states that he just got promoted directly from the Emperor to the role of Grand Admiral, and his job is to prevent the rebellion from rising before it even does. And he was brought in, it's pretty much hinted that he was kind of brought in because the Empire knows that going around chasing one or two rebel bands is just not going to be enough. And Grand Admiral Thrawn wants to destroy the rebellion with one swift stroke, as Grand Moff Tarkin said. And yes, Tarkin is in this episode too. It was a pleasure to see him around. So I guess the main plot of the Rebels crew in this episode is that Ezra and the crew want to liberate some ships and take them over to the rebellion to begin the armada, the building of the armada of the rebellion. And of course, because Ezra was a fool, the mission ends up somewhat blowing up in their faces, and Kanan has to show up and save the day. And earlier in the episode, he and the Bendu were having somewhat of a training session, and then Kanan has like a vision of Ezra being in trouble, which of course was the catalyst for Kanan to leave and go rescue Ezra. And of course, it's obviously a throwback to The Empire Strikes Back with Yoda and Luke Skywalker. And the episode pretty much ends with a little bit of a space fight, and Grand Admiral Thrawn is contacted, and he pretty much tells them to let them go because just stealing like 5 Y-Wings or whatever is not going to affect the Empire. And the Grand Admiral has bigger plans for the Rebels. So that's going to be the kickoff to the season. Now, in my opinion, this season premiere was not as good as the season 2 premiere at all. Like, I think it's better than season 1 premiere, and I was definitely marking out over Grand Admiral Thrawn, but I'm personally much more of a Vader fan, and seeing Vader regulate these fools at the season 2 premiere was just so incredibly awesome. I don't think we've seen Grand Admiral Thrawn regulate yet. He just is a blue guy with a cool voice. I mean, we know what he's capable of based on the books, but how much of that is really going to transfer over into Star Wars Rebels, that remains to be seen. I also am going to go ahead and predict that I believe, based on the relationship between Ezra and Kanan, it very, very, very much mirrors that of Anakin and Obi-Wan. And I think that it's very possible that by the end of this series, we're going to have Kanan and Ezra fight. I just have that feeling. I think they're building to it. I think that some people are believing that Ezra might end up being like a new canon version of Starkiller. I think that's possible, but I think it's more so going to be that Kanan and Ezra are going to duel. I think the dark side is going to seduce Ezra even more. And I don't know, because part of me kind of thinks they might not go that route because they've already gone that route before. I don't know if it's really covering new territory, but it just seems like they are building up this fight, but we might never see it. I mean, or maybe we will see it, but it won't be the end of the series. Maybe they'll fight and then they'll make up later. I mean, who really knows? The 2 key pieces from season 2 were Vader and Ahsoka. They had the best episodes, and neither one were in this episode, so it was a fun episode to watch, but it definitely didn't hold up to some of the season 2 stuff with the Jedi. But we've pretty much established some new stuff here with Grand Admiral Thrawn being there, Kanan now learning some new Force tricks, and Ezra slipping away into the dark side. He may not, who knows. Thanks for watching my review. Let me know your thoughts down below on the season 3 episode 1, the premiere of Rebels. Talk to y'all later.